Hi, passionate Rangers FC fans. Welcome to Rangers Update, your dedicated source for all things Rangers. Before we dive in, we want to express our gratitude for your unwavering support. If you bleed blue, don't forget to subscribe, smash that like button, and let's strengthen our community. Now, let's get into the latest updates. A hearty welcome to our new followers. Your backing means the world to us. WATP, let's get to the news. The whispers began like a low murmur drifting through the cold air of Glasgow, the kind of rumor that feels too sharp to ignore yet too unbelievable to fully accept. Inside the corridors of Ibrox, something had clearly gone wrong, but nobody expected it to unravel in such dramatic and frankly humiliating fashion. Danny Röhl, a figure who arrived with promise and a sense of tactical modernity, now finds himself at the center of a storm that refuses to quiet down. Sources close to the dressing room suggest that tensions had been simmering for weeks, perhaps even months, with cracks forming beneath the surface long before the public caught wind of the chaos. What makes this situation even more startling is not simply the reported resignation, but the tone of the message allegedly left behind. It was not one of gratitude or regret, but something far colder, almost detached, as if the experience had left a bitter taste that could not be masked by polite words or professional courtesy. As the story gathers pace, supporters are left grappling with a mixture of disbelief and frustration, trying to piece together how things deteriorated so rapidly. Röhl was never meant to be a fleeting chapter. He was presented as a project, a long-term vision, someone capable of reshaping the identity of the squad. Yet behind the scenes, it appears that alignment between the manager and the club hierarchy may have been far from harmonious. There are suggestions that disagreements over recruitment, training methods, and even the mentality within the squad created an environment that felt increasingly unsustainable. The alleged remarks he made upon stepping away have only intensified the speculation, with claims that he expressed embarrassment over having been associated with the club in its current state. That kind of sentiment, if true, cuts deep, striking at the pride of an institution that holds its history and stature above nearly everything else. Fans, as you might expect, have reacted with a mixture of anger and wounded pride, their voices echoing across social media and beyond. Some see Röhl's supposed comments as an unforgivable betrayal, a man turning his back not just on a job, but on a community that lives and breathes its football. Others, however, are beginning to wonder whether there is more truth to his words than they would care to admit. Could it be that the issues he hinted at are symptomatic of deeper problems within the club structure? It is a question that lingers, uncomfortable and persistent, refusing to fade away. The idea that a manager would leave under such circumstances, delivering what many are calling a shameful farewell message, suggests that something fundamental has been broken, and repairing it may not be as simple as appointing a new face on the touchline. Inside the dressing room, the atmosphere is said to be tense, almost suffocating, as players attempt to focus on their responsibilities while the storm rages around them. Leadership becomes crucial in moments like this, yet there are doubts about whether the current squad possesses the unity required to weather such a crisis. Röhl's alleged remarks about feeling ashamed have reportedly struck a nerve among certain players, some taking it personally, while others quietly reflect on their own performances and contributions. When a manager exits with such a heavy cloud of negativity, it rarely leaves the squad untouched. Instead, it seeps into the mindset, influencing confidence, belief, and ultimately performance. The fear now is that this situation could spiral further, turning a moment of instability into a prolonged period of decline. Meanwhile, the board finds itself under increasing scrutiny, facing questions that demand more than carefully worded statements or vague reassurances. Supporters want clarity, they want accountability, and above all, they want to understand how the club allowed things to reach this point. If the rumors surrounding Röhl's departure hold even a fraction of truth, then it raises serious concerns about the internal workings of the organization. Was there a failure to support the manager adequately? Or did his methods simply fail to resonate within the structure already in place? These are not easy questions, and the answers may be even harder to accept. What is clear, however, is that silence will not satisfy a fan base that expects transparency and ambition from those in charge. As the dust continues to swirl, one cannot ignore the symbolic weight of this moment. Football clubs of such stature are built on more than results. They are built on identity, pride, and a sense of belonging that transcends generations. For a manager to walk away and allegedly express shame at having been part of that journey challenges the very essence of what the club represents. Whether those words were spoken in frustration, anger, or genuine conviction remains to be seen, but their impact is undeniable. They have ignited a debate that stretches far beyond tactics or team selection, touching on the deeper issues of culture and direction. And as the story unfolds, one thing becomes increasingly certain. This is not merely a managerial exit, but a moment that could define the club's trajectory for years to come. The narrative, however, does not end with the departure itself, because the echoes of such a dramatic exit tend to linger far longer than the initial shock. In the days following the alleged resignation, more details have begun to surface, each adding another layer to an already complex situation. There are whispers of heated exchanges behind closed doors, moments where patience wore thin and disagreements escalated into outright confrontation. It paints a picture of a working relationship that had become fractured beyond repair, where trust had eroded to the point that collaboration was no longer possible. When that happens, even the most promising projects can collapse under the weight of unresolved conflict, leaving behind a trail of disappointment and unanswered questions. For many observers, the most striking aspect remains the tone attributed to Röhl's farewell. It was not simply critical, it was deeply personal, suggesting a level of disillusionment that goes beyond professional frustration. To feel ashamed of having managed a club of such magnitude is a statement that resonates loudly, perhaps too loudly for those who hold the badge close to their hearts. Yet within that statement lies a possibility that cannot be ignored, that the issues he encountered were not isolated incidents, but part of a broader pattern that has gone unaddressed for too long. If that is indeed the case, then his departure may serve as a wake-up call, forcing the club to confront uncomfortable truths rather than glossing over them. Supporters, divided yet united in their passion, continue to debate the implications of this saga. Some demand immediate change at every level, from the boardroom to the pitch, believing that only a complete overhaul can restore the club's standing. Others urge caution, warning against rash decisions driven by emotion rather than careful consideration. It is a delicate balance, one that requires both honesty and strategic thinking if the club is to emerge stronger from this ordeal. The challenge lies in recognizing the severity of the situation without allowing it to spiral into panic, a task easier said than done in the emotionally charged world of football. The players, caught in the crossfire of speculation and scrutiny, face their own set of challenges as they attempt to maintain focus amid the chaos. Professionalism becomes their shield, yet even the most disciplined individuals are not immune to the psychological impact of such events. Confidence can waver, cohesion can falter, and the sense of stability that underpins success can quickly dissolve. In this context, leadership within the squad becomes paramount, with senior figures expected to step up and guide their teammates through uncertain times. Whether they are capable of doing so remains an open question, one that will be answered not through words but through actions on the pitch. From a broader perspective, this episode highlights the fragile nature of managerial tenures in modern football, where expectations are relentless and patience is often in short supply. Röhl's situation, however, feels different, marked not just by results or performances, but by the intensity of the reported fallout. It serves as a reminder that success in football is not solely determined by tactics or talent, but by alignment, communication, and a shared vision that binds everyone together. When those elements are missing, even the most carefully constructed plans can unravel with startling, leaving behind a sense of what might have been. As the club stands at this crossroads, the path forward remains uncertain, shaped by decisions that will carry significant consequences. The appointment of a new manager will undoubtedly be a crucial step, but it is only part of the solution. Addressing the underlying issues that contributed to this situation is equally, if not more, important. Whether the board is willing to undertake such introspection remains to be seen, but the pressure to do so will only intensify as the story continues to dominate conversations. In the end, The legacy of this moment will be determined not by the controversy itself, but by how the club responds to it, choosing either to rebuild with purpose or risk repeating the same mistakes once again. And as the story refuses to fade from the headlines, new whispers continue to emerge, each one adding a sharper edge to what is already being described as one of the most embarrassing chapters in recent memory for the club. There are now suggestions that Danny Röhl did not merely step away quietly, but that his departure came after a final internal meeting that left those present stunned into silence. The tone, according to these rumors, was not just critical but brutally honest, bordering on disrespectful in the eyes of some officials. It is said he questioned the very standards being upheld behind the scenes, implying that what he encountered was far removed from what had been promised when he first took the role. For supporters who had invested hope in his leadership, this kind of narrative feels like a betrayal layered on top of disappointment, a combination that only deepens the sense of humiliation surrounding the situation. What makes this even more unsettling is the growing belief that Röhl's frustrations were not sudden, but rather the result of a slow accumulation of issues that had been left unresolved. Training ground dynamics, internal communication breakdowns, and even questions about professionalism have all been mentioned in these circulating accounts. If even part of this is accurate, it paints a picture of a club struggling to maintain cohesion at multiple levels. The idea that a manager would reach a point where he openly distances himself from the identity of the team suggests a disconnect that goes far beyond tactical disagreements. It raises concerns about culture, about standards, and about whether the foundations are as solid as they are often portrayed to be. For a club with such a proud history, these are not minor concerns. They strike at the very core of its reputation. Among the supporters, the emotional response continues to evolve, shifting from shock to something closer to introspection for some, while others remain firmly rooted in anger. There is a growing segment of the fanbase that wonders whether Röhl's alleged words, harsh as they may be, could reflect a reality that has been ignored for too long. That does not make his approach acceptable in their eyes, but it does open the door to difficult conversations that cannot simply be dismissed. At the same time, many fans feel that no circumstance justifies publicly shaming the club, especially from someone who was entrusted with leading it forward. This divide in opinion creates an atmosphere that feels fractured, where unity is replaced by debate, and certainty is replaced by doubt. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Inside the club, the sense of urgency is becoming impossible to ignore, with pressure mounting on every level of leadership to respond in a way that restores confidence. Silence is no longer an option, yet every word spoken risks fueling the fire further if not handled carefully. There are indications that internal reviews are being considered, an attempt to identify where things went wrong and how such a breakdown could have occurred. Whether these efforts will lead to meaningful change or simply serve as a temporary measure remains unclear. What is certain, however, is that the longer the uncertainty lingers, the more damage it threatens to cause, not just in terms of public perception but also within the dressing room itself. For the players, this ongoing saga represents a test of character as much as ability, a moment where resilience becomes just as important as skill. They are aware of the narratives being built around them, the criticisms being voiced, and the expectations that have not been met. To hear that their former manager may have felt ashamed to be associated with them is a heavy burden, one that can either break confidence or ignite a determination to prove otherwise. The response they choose will play a significant role in shaping how this period is ultimately remembered. Will it be seen as the beginning of a decline, or as the spark that forced a necessary reaction? As everything continues to unfold, the broader football world watches closely, not out of mere curiosity, but because situations like this tend to reveal deeper truths about how clubs operate under pressure. The departure of Danny Röhl, surrounded by such intense speculation and controversy, has become more than just a managerial change. It is a reflection of underlying tensions, of expectations unmet, and of a relationship that ultimately could not be sustained. Whether the full truth will ever come to light is uncertain, but the impact of these rumors is already being felt. And as the club looks ahead, attempting to turn the page, it does so with the knowledge that some stories are not so easily left behind, especially when they carry the weight of humiliation and unanswered questions. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.